In the early morning hours of Tuesday, July 11th, a slow-moving line of storms stalled over the Fishing Brook range south and east of Long Lake. The area received more than 5 inches of rain in an 8-hour period. This came on top of several inches of rain that had fallen over the prior 3 days, but Tuesday night's deluge was different. It was tropical. And Shaw Brook, a normally placid brook that flows along Route 28N east of the village, turned into a raging torrent. The water heavily damaged a bridge that crosses the brook, and a 200-yard-long stretch of roadway was destroyed. From there, the torrent gouged out the course it normally follows down towards the lake, and it washed out the road at both ends of the bridge over Route 30, near the junction of Routes 30 and 28N. Shaw Brook empties into Jennings Pond. This artificial pond was created in the 1930s when a long earthen dam was built to inundate a sizable swampy area. Known locally as the Causeway, the dam incorporates a concrete spillway that was supposed to handle overflow situations. But the flood topped the causeway, and it took no time at all for the water to open up a 50-yard-long gap, allowing most of the water to rush out into Long Lake. This might have been lucky, because at that point the water was also flowing over Route 30 close to the Adirondack Hotel. It had started to erode the shoreline on the beachside, and if that stretch of highway had breached, it would have been worse. So what does this have to do with beavers? Well, a beaver dam stood a quarter-mile upstream from where Shaw Brook started ripping out bridges. And this was no ordinary beaver dam. This dam had stood at that spot for at least 30 years, and the pond it created shows up on USGS hydrologic maps as a permanent water body. 2 days prior, a thunderstorm dumped more than an inch of rain in a couple of hours. At that point, water started making its way around one end of the beaver dam. But, not to worry, within a few hours the beaver had plugged the gap. This allowed even more water to accumulate in the shallow marshy pond which everyone hereabouts refers to as Shaw Pond. A quick estimate of the water storage capacity of Shaw Pond before the flood puts it conservatively at 100 acre-feet. That's 32 million gallons of water, or roughly 50 Olympic swimming pools. But back to the tropical deluge that fell on the Fishing Brook range. Several small brooks flowed into Shaw Pond, and at some point during the night, the beaver dam failed catastrophically. As mentioned, rain gauges in Long Lake Village recorded over 5 inches, but it is likely that the mountainous terrain south and east of Long Lake got even more. Other streams, including Fishing Brook and the Salmon River on the other side of the range, did significant damage to steel highway bridges. We can't say for sure how much the beaver dam failure contributed to the disaster, but we can say for sure that it didn't help. We also don't know if a warming climate played a role in this event, but we do know that warmer air holds more moisture and that extreme weather events have become more common. As I write this, much of the South and Southwest are baking with record heat. Chicago is under a tornado watch, and our prediction calls for 2 more days of potentially flooding rains. In a final irony, I've been working on a video about the key role that beaver play in Adirondack ecosystems. And by Tuesday afternoon, 5 beaver were at the site of their washed-out dam. The flow was still strong at that point, but I could see their little minds turning. They are planning to rebuild. We hear a lot these days about adapting to a changing climate, but it doesn't really hit home until something like this happens. No one in Long Lake expected something like this, but the world is changing fast. We are changing it, all 8 billion of us, and we need to examine our assumptions a little more closely.